And sort of moving back to your sort of the consulting career, obviously did incredibly well, made partner very early. But I believe that sort of towards the end of that career, you started thinking about moving in a different direction. Why was that, Deepa?
Yeah, I did. I probably around 16, 17 years in, I started having growing questions around purpose. So it started, it was three things that came together that, I think are important, especially for your listeners, given who they are. One was just bigger questions around purpose. And so although I liked the work that I was doing, I was not, doing what I went to school for, what I thought I'd be doing. And so I actually hired a coach and was working through these big questions around purpose and what I wanted to do. I'd become an Aspen Fellow, and which is a lot about social impact. And so there were these big questions around that. The second was health, right? So I started really having some challenges around health, and part of it had to do with the lifestyle. I did 3 cities a week sometimes. I mean, and living out of a suitcase in a hotel and flying that much, candidly. I flew cross country sometimes for a day meeting like every week. And so that really started to take its toll on me. And then I think bigger questions around just being a woman of color at work. Like we were in a moment where Me Too was coming up and other questions around what it meant to be a woman at work. And I started to feel like this greater responsibility as I stepped into my inclusion roles around what does it mean to be an underrepresented group at work, and what's happening with those voices. And so those three things came to a head for me and really had unearthed something. But ultimately, I chose to walk away after a very long process. I started meeting with women of color to figure out like, where do senior women of color go? And one-on-one, it started as dinners, and eventually it turned into, I did a series of 10 dinners across the country with my now business partner, Ra. We were just listening for like, what's an industry that's interesting, that requires less travel, that, meet some of the things that I'm looking for around purpose. And we would get into these rooms of 20 and 30, senior women, all VP level and above, because I was looking for a certain conversation, not women I knew. So just, through LinkedIn or friends of friends. And we would have these dinners, and sometimes we'd be sitting at the table for 6 and 7 hours. And these women were sharing stories about what it was like to navigate, which is where the book came from. Like to navigate as a first, a few, and an only. They were all in these roles, in these senior roles, but alone, and really trying to figure out, what does leadership look like, and how do I use my voice? And so those dinners were magical and turned into the fodder for the book, and also turned into my company. And I didn't know that that's what I was doing when I was gathering these women. I was just trying to figure out, I don't feel happy. I don't feel satisfied. My health is failing me. This doesn't feel like where I'm supposed to be anymore. But I hadn't, I'd been there for so long that I didn't know what else was possible.